I am extremely excited for this video. We're going to talk about the best one-person business for smart people going into 2025 or any year after. But what you'll realize is that this isn't a business model and it isn't necessarily for smart people. Now, I want you to imagine the future with me. A future where creators are the new teachers. Online courses are decentralized schooling. Individuals pursue their interests and teach those with a similar personality, creating a better learning experience. Education is more efficient, affordable, and results-oriented than a conformist public school system. Anyone can choose courses and creators that align with their personal goals. They aren't locked into one area of study that breeds narrow-mindedness and dependence on society for a job or paycheck. More people embrace deep generalism and become polymaths, which are prerequisites for becoming a free-thinking individual. Learning, teaching, and earning collapse into one ideal and meaningful lifestyle thanks to advancements in technology and the spread of information. The thing is, you're experiencing this right now. You are currently watching a video with information that could change your life, and this information wouldn't dare be taught in schools because it doesn't benefit them. So you can think of me as a teacher right now, but as we'll find, I'm not really a teacher. I'm just a person sharing my interests and you're learning from them in a beautiful way. In my eyes, this is the future of education, entrepreneurship, and work as a whole. All signs point to it. All right, so let's take a look at some data. The first is from Stripe. And the gist of this screenshot is that creator growth isn't stopping anytime soon. The next two images that I'm going to go over are from Hosen's thread on X. I'll put the link in the description to that. And it's on a very similar topic. So this is my take on it. We've talked about this many times before, but you can treat this video as a refinement of the ideas so you can have more clarity on it. The way I see it, creator growth is the only logical option going into a world where AI and automation makes meaningless work optional. And while social media may change, the desire to get paid for being yourself or to do what you want and receive the value, the human connection from another person is going to remain throughout the rest of history, throughout everything. And if you haven't noticed, evolution is about solving problems. It's taken a lot of problem solving and technology to get to this point that we're at where this opportunity is available to you. And the thing with that is that we're on the verge of solving the problem of doing work you hate. That has been a problem since the dawn of time. Humans don't like doing work they hate. So what do you think has influenced the direction of technology being built and just the direction of evolution in general? It's been work that people hate doing. Problems frame the technology that is built to solve those things, but it's taken so long, so much technological development to get to the point where we're not going to have to do work that we hate. So the only other option is work that we enjoy, because nobody is not going to work. Retirement is a myth and an illusion that nobody actually wants. Because when you go on a vacation or you try to simulate retirement, once you're there for a week, 2 weeks, you get the gist, it becomes normal. It's boring. You want to change. You want chaos. You want more confusion in your life. You want that balance because the highs don't make sense without the lows. You can't be happy unless you have a reference point of being sad. Work isn't meaningful unless you have rest. This life is reserved for the polymaths, autodidacts, and those with an unquenchable thirst to acquire a diverse set of irreplaceable skills. Let's go further. Look at this graph. There are now 50 million content creators spread across different platforms. And if you know me, I'm a big fan of X, and so I don't know how much this graphic took into account, but X is growing every single day. This pie chart is kind of legacy, in my opinion, with the social media that is coming up and growing. Now, beyond that, freelancers compose 46.6% of the workforce, increasing substantially from 36% in 2020. The creator economy is predicted to double from 250 billion to 480 billion by 2028. People think they're late to the party when it's just getting started. The economy favors profitable business models. Tech-enabled businesses like creators can operate at 95% profit margins with digital products and services, causing more development in that domain for new platforms and tools. Again, with how technology and evolution is shaped by the desire to solve problems like work you hate, it also moves in the direction of what's working. Therefore, the creator economy. And last, big companies are requiring leaders at their company to be active on social media for brand reputation, less corporate marketing, more human marketing. The point is that Everyone's becoming a creator because a creator isn't what you think it is. It's not a content creator. It's putting yourself online. It's a thing that everyone does and will be required to do. If you work at a company, a progressive company, you're probably going to have to be on social media, or they're going to have in-house creators that they build to be on social media for the company. If you have your own creative work, how do you attract an audience nowadays to that creative work? If you want to be independent, you build an audience, or you can go with a publisher for a book or a record label for your music. But if you just want to be independent and do things yourself, you can now. You don't need a centralized institution to help you make that thing a success. It's all in your hands now, and you have the information to learn any skill imaginable. The thing with this course of evolution in solving the problems that we hate is that technology has gotten so good. You don't need 10 people, 10 programmers to build a website anymore. You just sign up for Webflow or WordPress or Squarespace and you build it. You have all of these things. You can whip up a landing page in an hour. And many people think that AI is just going to replace creative people. And if it does, then maybe you deserve to be replaced. But at the same time, that's not what AI is going to do. AI is going to allow more people to acquire more skills and utilize more skills faster so they can do things independently. They can do what massive companies used to do as one person. I can be a designer. I can tell AI to whip up a landing page in 5 seconds. I can code an app with all of these new AI programming tools that are coming out. It's less about the manual grunt work of doing these things and more about having the level of psychological development and idea generation to take you in the right direction. It's more about being the constructor of the narrative, the constructor of the vision, and building towards that, because that's what's unique. That's what you have to feed AI anyways, is the vision, the goal. It's a system that helps you achieve the goal. The point is that living in the world we do right now is a superpower for polymaths and generalists and people with just that want to make a lot of interest work. But it goes even deeper. We need to talk about why smart people shouldn't go to college. So we'll start with a quote from my book. Knowledge not found in schools is the source of money not found in employment. People are losing trust in the institutions and ideologies that failed to give them the secure future they promised. So here we have more data, another graph that show how much people trust mass media. And I would assume that this graph is also very similar if you were to put it on the topic of religion or schooling. So the media, do we trust the media? No. Religion, do we trust religion? No. Schools, do we trust them to secure our future? No. Does that mean that education or meaning or information are a bad thing? No. It means that the source of those things are changing, aka they're going from centralized institutions that have annoying agendas to an individual who can think for themselves. Schools narrow your mind on the illusory status of a nice job and large paycheck. Religions narrow your mind on a singular cultural perspective that fails to make sense of reality. Jobs narrow your mind on a replaceable and repetitive string of tasks that won't be worth what you're being paid now as technology advances. These things in the past were necessary. Jobs were necessary to make an income. Religions were necessary for a lot of people to make sense of the world or make sense of their place in the world. And schooling was of course necessary in order to get on page with the rest of society. But if we're an intelligent society, it course corrects. We understand, hey, we went a little bit in the wrong direction, like a boat steering towards a lighthouse. Sometimes you get blown off course, it needs to course correct. And this is reality correcting itself. And of course, those things don't want you to leave them, the religions, the schools, the jobs, because it benefits something bigger. For those who value self-education and personal responsibility, you are quite possibly experiencing the most important time of your life. For those who can't think for themselves or open their mind to new perspectives, you will probably suffer for the coming years until you hit rock bottom, which forces a perspective shift and growth. In ego development theory, which we'll talk about a bit later, there is a lower stage of development called the conformist stage. And this is, you could describe this stage as people who can't think for themselves, or people who conform to a group's values and worldview. So something like a religion or a Bible thumper, that's the perfect example of this. Or someone who is programmed with the beliefs of their parents and just never question them. They regurgitate everything they say when they're interacting with the world. They're kind of just like a vessel for someone else's beliefs. It seems that as new generations gain more of a collective voice, the conformist stage, which is mostly occupied by boomers, is slowly starting to fade out from the general population. More people are occupying higher stages of development. This is the hidden importance of social media and the internet. Social media set the foundation for the distribution of education, meaning, and work. The lines have blurred. No central institution has control over any given culture. Personal brands on social media teach their interests, share their belief system, and make an income doing so by providing a product or service under their brand. In other words, there are more perspectives for people to explore. There isn't a singular perspective that you were raised in your culture that would get you killed in another culture. People think, I've talked about this before, but Christians think they would still be Christians if they were born on the other side of the planet, and that is not true at all. Your values and your beliefs are determined by how you were raised. You start as a blank slate. You're telling me that if you were raised on the other side of the world and with parents from a completely different perspective and worldview, that you would just somehow magically understand and choose Christianity over something else? Absolutely not. No, you would not. No chance. That is like a 100% chance that you would not do that. The point behind that is that reaching the next stage, the pluralist stage, where you're actually able to hold different perspectives or observe different perspectives, you start to break out of that shell. So why is this such an important turning point in history? It's exactly that reason. There are so many perspectives that are pushing people into higher stages of development. 1, anyone is free to share their interests and beliefs on the internet. 2, anyone is free to self-develop, acquire new skills, learn from others, and contribute to humanity by providing their own product or service. 3, education determines an individual's potential, and if that education is dominated by a school system with an agenda that doesn't account for the individual's goals and development, we are entering a new golden age. Education shapes the future because it shapes human behavior. You become what you consume. Education expands your perspective and allows you to spot opportunities in unknown territory. Education is programming. You've been educated your entire life, but you didn't choose that source of information until now. In other words, we're entering a human economy, a connected economy that finally reflects natural patterns, a purpose economy where people can choose to learn and educate themselves from those with a shared vision and goals. Now, why does this work? Because people have different needs for understanding. Many of you here watching this resonate with what I say and teach, but there are plenty of people that hate me. But what they don't realize is that they're getting very similar, if not the same information from someone that they just relate with more. The traditional student was assigned goals that left them dumb and replaceable. They were assigned a teacher, they were told to pay an outrageous amount, to take out loans that would be impossible to pay back, drowning them in high interest that keeps their mind trapped in survival mode due to the stress. They try to solve that stress by getting a job, making their life even worse, and by the time they know it, they either forget that they were meant for more or get overwhelmed by how much work it will take to dig out of that mess. The modern student can choose their own goals, find a teacher, invest in their own education, and once they've achieved that goal, they can evolve as all things do to the next one, or they can fulfill their higher needs of becoming the teacher and passing down what they've learned. So as you can see, this one-person business model, this best one-person business model is learning by becoming the student and then earning by becoming the teacher. How are you going to create anything worth distributing if you don't become a person of value? Yes, to join the new, hyper-profitable economy, you will need to do something with your life. But conventional education won't cut it. The current school system is just that, a system that molds you into the workforce. It teaches the obedience and skills necessary to work a job in the old economy. So if you want to make money in the new economy, then obviously you must seek education from those who have results in that domain. Courses, coaching, and content from brands and creators that have created those ways of making money. A lot of people like to label courses as a scam, and this is becoming less of a thing. The people that just immediately label a course as a scam are stupid. And some of them can be scams. Sure, that's common in new domains before they self-correct, and there are regulatory measures in place to prevent that. But there are regulatory measures in place. The creator economy is self-corrective because there are people that call out the scammers. And so all it takes is a bit of critical thought and due diligence to make sure that you aren't being scammed. The thing here is that the overwhelming majority of courses are good, and that education is absolutely necessary to change human behavior from the bottom up. People don't understand that education is a billion times more important than any kind of physical product or other business, simply because it changes human behavior and minds from the bottom up. Your physical products and other businesses are useless unless the person buying those things has been educated to the point of having the mind and being the person who would buy those products or services. So in other words, if you want more customers for your physical product or other business, then maybe you should create an education product at extremely high profit margins, open a new revenue arm for yourself, and create more customers for your business in the meantime. If you are a solar company, or not a solar company, if you sell a lamp for your room, right? If you sell a lamp that isn't LED, it has all the benefits of sunlight, or it's close to it, it's one of those lights that is healthy to turn on at morning and at night, then maybe you should create an education product about light health. Because the more people you educate on the importance of not shining LEDs in your face at night, the more people are likely to buy your product. That's just one example. So with education and info products, the worst thing you can do is avoid learning from those who are creating the future in front of your eyes. New jobs are being created left and right. The ones where boomers will tell you to quote unquote get a real job. Creators are forging a new path, creating value, building teams, and hiring high agency individuals. The creator economy is the new school system. Becoming a creator is the new career path. A holistic career path that allows you to pursue and monetize any interest you deem meaningful and important. Set a goal, find creators you resonate with, drown yourself in the information they provide, watch new opportunities register in your awareness, and act on them like your life depends on this. The last thing I'll touch on there is that you have to realize that this is interest agnostic. You're watching this because you're interested in self-improvement and business and maybe philosophy, but there are a lot of other interests that exist out there. There's crypto, there's fitness, there's health, there's anything, any topic. There's a creator doing that thing. And there is a successful creator doing that thing. Not all of them are successful, but usually that's just a lack of development. And as we'll talk about in the next video, that's a lack of intelligence, because intelligence is your ability to learn from your mistakes, not quit. The sign of unintelligence is quitting because you can't see that a mistake can be overcome and fixed, and that success can be achieved under any circumstances. Okay, now we need to discuss this one-person business thing. In short, a creator is a one-person media company. That's what we're becoming. That's what your school system is. It's less about media and education and more about both under one specific person. So other people with a similar personality and goals as you, aka the person that they're going to learn and improve and get results best from and change their behavior and change their life. That's how it's determined on the individual level. If you understand evolution, you understand that individuals, industries, and life itself oscillate between unity and division, centralization and decentralization. This is a generalized principle of reality, like the ocean evaporating into droplets, condensing in the clouds, and once it's heavy enough, raining back down to nourish plants, serve other beneficial ecological functions, and repeat all over again. We are entering an era where the pendulum is swinging from institution to individual. Entropy and wealth are two polar ends. They're two sides of the same coin. Entropy is increasing uncertainty or disorder. Wealth is increasing order or certainty. So as one decreases, the other increases. So those that only have the half-truth perspective that entropy is all bad and that everything is just decaying and going down, that's the universal law, right? Everything is decaying. The sun's dying out, the world is dying out, your room gets messy, etc., etc. What they don't understand is wealth. As uncertainty or disorder increases, the more opportunity and resources you have to build wealth. Wealth is increasing order through value creation, like turning wood into a house, low value into high value. Now, all of this philosophical nonsense is to say that we live in a time of deep uncertainty and distrust for institutions' grip on our minds. But that's not a bad thing. It simply means we have more information, more ideas, more resources like no-code tools that other value creators have birthed, and more abundance to work with as individuals. If you understand that, that is incredible. So the first point here is the future of entrepreneurship. Social media is where the attention is right now. Social media is a free technology that has radically changed how we learn and acquire knowledge to improve our quality of life. For value-focused people, lower development people focused on memes and toxicity shouldn't be your focus here. Social media is how you join the future of work. And yes, I've talked about this in previous videos like ideas are the new oil. I believe that what we do as a majority to generate wealth will evolve from physical assets to digital assets. Physical businesses have online stores and audiences to expand their reach and provide more value. Corporations are breeding in-house creators to bring more personality to their robotic company. Individuals like Ali Abdaal, our productivity overlord, left their job as a doctor. He posted med school videos and the market told him they wanted his productivity advice. So it was a no-brainer for him to do the thing that had more value, considering they did surgery on a grape. And in return, he makes more than 10 doctors combined. So that's the future of entrepreneurship. The second point here is to become a value creator, not an influencer, not a personal brand, not a content creator, a value creator. That is your job. Social media is just a vessel. Social media is just a temporary tool that may go away or evolve somewhere in the near future. But being a value creator is the style of one-person business. It's just the way of life that you have to live going into the future to build wealth, aka anti-entropic. You have to reverse entropy by generating wealth. How do you do that? Value creation. If we observe evolution's arrow, let's assume that the goal of reality is to unify consciousness. We can assume this direction by noting patterns of increasing wholeness. Matter to biology to psychology to spirit, each transcends and includes another. Atom to cell to molecule to organism, letter to sentence to paragraph to chapter to book, materials to infrastructure to surface to house. All intelligent life is moving toward higher orders of unity by creating value, or creating wealth to combat disorder and uncertainty from entropy. Now, if we take a look at the stages of psychological development, we can note a similar pattern. As oneself develops, they move from egocentric to sociocentric to world-centric to cosmocentric. They expand their circle of concern. Their desires shift from selfish survival to selfless contribution. So, who is this whole creator business thing for? In my eyes, it's those who land between the achiever and strategist stage and above, which is a little under half of the population, as you can see by this graphic. It's for those who love to learn, have results with specific skills or interests, and want to lean into their natural desire to help others and evolve. Now, the achiever stage, which I talked about a bit before and I'm talking about now and I'll talk about a bit later, is the stage that I think is most characterized by people that are being introduced or are stuck in self-help, self-improvement, like surface level self-improvement, and business stuff. So the stuff you see on YouTube everywhere, the shallow business or making money advice, the shallow self-help advice of like, oh, install these habits in your day or do this daily routine, or the relationship advice of like how to get laid in 5 seconds. And then above that to individualist and strategist of being able to adopt more perspectives and go a bit deeper and start to think for yourself more. I would recommend that you go read Suzanne Cook-Greuter's 9 stages of ego development. Just look that up on Google and you'll find the PDF that you can read, or just do more research, go down rabbit holes for this topic. But that's who this is for. It's for the people that have the skills, they have the interest to improve, they are improving, and beyond that. Now, as I said before, it's not that everyone can't do this. Everyone can once they reach a certain level of development, but it takes time to reach that level of development. And people before those stages, in the lower stages, is that this won't even make sense to them. It's like you, when you were a teenager, me when I was a teenager, when I first started hearing about spirituality and all of this woo-woo lingo that they use, it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, you're insane, you're crazy. And now it's like, oh, I get it. Yeah, I understand, because I'm at the place where I can understand. So people that are like, oh, this creator economy stuff is bullshit, or this deeper perspective of how Dan looks at the creator economy, where it's not just posting content and using content templates and becoming like this churn and burn vessel for money. It's about something deeper. It's about meaningful work. Oh no, Dan's crazy for thinking that. No way. So here's another graphic from Slow, SLOWW. He has a great summary of the 9 stages. I actually found this graphic after reading the 90-page PDF from Suzanne Cook-Greuter and then finding his stuff to find graphics for this. So props to him. But the most beautiful thing about a creator business model is that it is stage agnostic for the most part. It can be used as a forcing function to move from conventional to post-conventional. And as I've tweeted before, self-development is a gateway drug into entrepreneurship because you realize that improving others is the next level of improving yourself. At higher stages, contributing to mankind becomes a top priority and desire. Since money and wealth are anti-entropic, creating value, products, and spreading knowledge, content is a viable way to fulfill that desire, getting paid to be and actualize yourself. Now, a last point here. Humans find meaning and enjoyment at the edge of their abilities, when the flow of information is maximized, when they feel as though they have the skill to take on higher challenges. So, if we consider ourselves creative vessels for reality to flow through, that is what a creator business is. What is more meaningful than that? The lifestyle and work and teaching and learning, all of these things that make life meaningful in one lifestyle, allowing you to do it all and survive. We learn, create, and teach. We solve our own problems and sell the solution to increase the tail end of wealth and contribute to the unification of consciousness. Okay, so we understand that the future of entrepreneurship lies in the individual's hands. Whether you want to consider yourself a creator or not, it's wise to become a value creator, to just create value. You do that by solving problems. You do that by distributing the things that you learn. You do that by learning, teaching, and building, or learning, teaching, and creating. You give people the knowledge and tools required to change or reach higher stages of development. So now we need to ground this in practicality by creating your public school system, because as a creator, you are a teacher. As an education-based value creator, you are a teacher. That is the style of one-person business. So there are 3 things that you need as a value creator that is focused on education and improvement over being an influencer that is focused on memes and entertainment. The first is brand, an extension of yourself, how you display your mind online, a way for people to find and follow your perspective. Number 2 is content, how you distribute education, knowledge, and wisdom to help others around your skills and interests. And the third is product, a system for helping people solve a problem and achieve a goal. Your brand is the world you are inviting people into, the perspective you are helping them adopt, the goal or level of development you are helping them reach. And now, while this is illustrated in your bio and your profile picture and all of that fun stuff, I believe it's further illustrated in content. Your brand is a culmination of ideas in your readers' minds over the course of 3 to 6 months. It's an environment. It's a world you're allowing people to come into and follow. So your goal with content is to create that world for people to explore. You're creating an ecosystem. You're creating a world. You're creating a small scale Marvel or Star Wars that people can become obsessed with and learn and dive into and make a part of their identity, a higher, more expanded, holistic identity, because you don't get rid of your ego, you expand it to the point of being at one with reality. So if you can help people adopt and grow into a more expanded ego, you're doing the right thing. Because the ego, what is the ego? The ego is the storyteller. It's the interpreter of reality. You don't get rid of it. That's not how it works. You make sense of the world in stories, but the more expanded, the more dissolved the limits of your ego are, allowing it to expand, the more holistic and higher you can make sense of the world in a story. You tell a more holistic story. You see the universe as universe, one song. You see it as the highs and the lows. You understand more perspectives. You can see it from multiple different angles. You don't get reactive or attached to one specific worldview, like being a Christian or being a freelancer or being a keto diet advocate. You can see all perspectives and their specific use cases in alignment with the level of development that other people are at and how they view the world and how they act within the world, and you can have empathy for them, etc., etc. So back to content, we want our content to be interconnected like reality is. We want to, like Marcus Aurelius would say, live in accordance with nature, but we want to build or create in accordance with nature. We want our content ecosystem to be interconnected and organismic, like an organism, not quick and fragmented sales funnels that make you feel like a sleazy marketer doing everything you can to maximize profits. It's not that you can't do that or that you shouldn't at lower levels of development that you need to grow through. And please don't confuse lower stages of development with bad when they are necessary and you're going through them just like everyone else. But I'm assuming you are pursuing this line of work because you want something deeper than that which you are currently aware of. In other words, we're building a content ecosystem. I personally do this by writing social posts every day, posting those across all platforms, taking the top performing ideas, expanding them into deeper newsletters or threads, posting my newsletter on my personal blog or site, turning those newsletters into video and podcast scripts, linking my products throughout for people to discover, embedding my videos in the corresponding blog, plugging that blog on all social platforms, and then it feeds into each other. It's cyclical. Now, since I'm only focused on writing posts and newsletters and sitting down to record that once a week, this doesn't take more than 1 to 2 hours a day because I've done it for long enough. It's a very efficient system. And of course, building and experimenting with products or things like Kortex or the startup, that takes more time. That's what I do outside of the day. But the base of everything that I do and the thing that makes it a success is the writing for 1 to 2 hours a day. That's what I teach in 2 Hour Writer. Now, what this content ecosystem does is creates a cyclical and interconnected school system for people to explore and get what they need according to their goals. And of course, we only have so much space to go into here. So as I mentioned, 2 Hour Writer or digital economics. If you want like everything and all courses, not just writing, then check that out or check them out and just see which one's a fit for you, which one aligns with your goals right now so that you can learn best from. And if none of them align with your goals, no problem. So you build your content ecosystem. That's how you grow your business. That's your traffic mechanism. That's how you attract an audience or readers or traffic in general, rather than paying for paid ads, which isn't a bad thing. You can do that too, but there's paid ads, there's SEO, there's sponsorships for like podcasts or YouTube videos or newsletters, but building an audience as the base with a content ecosystem for people to dive into is a free and accessible way to build traffic, develop your skill set, and get good at this thing. That's what you need. If you aren't making money, it's because you don't have people, you don't have an audience, you don't have traffic that you send to your product. So the fourth thing here, the fourth point is to build and sell a high value product. Now, a warning here is that this section also may get long and complex, but I think it will provide a meaningful perspective on selling a product. The future of entrepreneurship is a blend of education, meaning, and value exchange. You can see it all around you already. Individuals are creating anything from courses to clothing to software to holistic physical products that help rather than hurt humanity. When I say sell high value products, that's what I mean. Something that raises people's consciousness, something that raises their well-being, helps them improve, rather than food like Lunchleys or Mr. Beast bars that make people sick and that just show a lack of awareness and education around nutrition and what should be put out there. Now, there are infinite ways to do that, to remove the limits from people's minds, to help them improve, to help them grow. So I'll leave that to your own creativity. But if you want my opinion, education products are the best place to start, as we talked about earlier, info products. They're nearly free to create and distribute. You can start with something as simple as an ebook and let it evolve into more complex courses or cohorts with time. Physical products can be helpful, but a physical product isn't necessary for change. I don't need the Aura ring that's charging on my desk or the 8-sleep mattress that's in my bedroom. I just don't need those things. If I have the education on what it takes to have good sleep, those things are just like helpful bonuses. Yeah, the physical product, why we're evolving to digital over physical is because we have everything we need to survive and survive very well beyond survival, to just enjoy and find pleasure in life from the physical world. There isn't much more innovation to happen that isn't just a nice to have. Of course, that's for us. That's for the individuals that are building. People like Elon Musk, who are building rockets and may take us to Mars, and who are the elites, which are a good thing, that are raising the tail end of poverty. We're not those people. So the physical world isn't much value to us yet until we build the cash flow in the digital. And if we want to go into the premium physical space, then we can. But honestly, just think about that for a bit. It's actually insane that we're just in the starting zone of the digital world and innovation within the digital. But the physical has advanced so much to the point where innovation is very difficult. It's reserved for the elites. And that, I don't see that as a bad thing. They're the ones with the resources to take us and push the physical world into this next layer of evolution. It's very cool to watch. Starting with education, to me, seems like the most straightforward, fulfilling, and truly impactful approach to having an impact on the world. Not to mention, the economy favors the profitable and the market demand is high for education in an uncertain world. There's so much information out there. This is a common objection, is like, why sell an information product when it's all online? Is because the more information out there that isn't ordered or organized causes more uncertainty and confusion. That isn't helpful to people. More information means more opportunity for wealth creation with the education products. You have to understand that polarity. But the thing is you can't understand that until you do it. Because that's the other thing. That's the other objection is, but won't it get saturated? Not really, because we talked about entropy as a universal law, and as more options and uncertainty increase, so does the potential for wealth creation. Resources increase, efficiency increases, evolution is forced. Of course, the landscape may drastically change over the next 10 years, but that's why we build an audience, develop ourselves, and put us in the right position to both spot and take advantage of that change. In other words, if you aren't doing something in the modern world at the leading edge of evolution, then how are you going to take advantage of that next thing? There's so many things that you've missed out on simply because you've been on the tail end. The other thing here is that live learning tools like Zoom and these course platforms and Khan Academy and all of these public schools going into online education. More people are investing in further education outside of schools. This is such a beautiful thing because usually, and maybe why certain generations were so underdeveloped for a long time, is because they'd go to school and then education would stop. They don't further education when it matters the most, when you're differentiating yourself. E-learning is being adopted at an accelerated rate. So the general market and opportunity for education products have increased exponentially. The space that we're in, it just seems like we're overwhelmed with these products and services, these courses. But in reality, the supply doesn't match the demand yet. Now, also on the topic of saturation, why would people buy from you over someone else? Aren't there enough info products on the market? If we look back at the stages of psychological development, I believe there isn't enough education until everyone reaches the unitive stage or higher, which is unlikely to happen in a long time. Because the thing here is that you don't just put out an education product and get rich. You can make a decent amount of money, but if you're in this, if you're in it for the meaningful work, then your products evolve as you do. You feel the desire to share what you've recently learned. So as you continue to develop and create and pass down what you're learning, you're helping people reach higher and higher stages. In the context we're concerned, the achiever and pluralist stages can most easily be spotted by those deep in self-help, professional development and business, cultivating relationships, emotional management and regulation, and beginner levels of spirituality. In other words, the eternal markets we've discussed before: health, wealth, relationships, and happiness. If you watched any of my one-person business playlist, you've heard me say those things time and time again, because that's where all burning and profitable problems lie. That's where high value problems lie. Human problems. Most people building products and services that are pretty profitable aren't solving human problems. They're not actually helping people. Yeah, they get rid of some like minor problem of, oh, I created a vacuum cleaner that helps me do things faster. But in terms of development, there is very little out there. Now, as I mentioned before, social media and YouTube are currently flooded with videos and content from within these stages, right? The achiever and pluralist. So a lot of self-help, a lot of business, a lot of relationship stuff, but it's very shallow. The reason it's shallow is because it isn't focused on vertical development. It's not focused on getting people to the next level. It's focused on horizontal development, which you're not going up a stage. You're staying and locking yourself into the same stage. So it's more confirming beliefs than it is changing them and help raise them to the next level. So all of this business stuff about, oh, sell, work 12 hours a day, and that becomes your identity. You're just getting stuck in that stage until you realize it's unsustainable and decide to move up a stage. The other thing is that you can target higher stages. You can. There are people that do that. There's the deep esoteric wisdom on the internet right now that you can go and find. But for most people, it's not going to register for them. They're not going to understand it. They're still going to gravitate back to the more shallow self-help stuff. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a smaller percentage of the world that will benefit from those things. So if you want to go for that smaller, more niche audience, then be my guest, and props to you. Now, let's get to the point. How do you create a profitable product? First, choose a medium. So ebooks, paid newsletter, a course, a cohort, coaching, etc. 2, choose a domain. So your product can have a blend of topics, but its main focus should be on health, wealth, relationships, or happiness. 3, sell to your past self. Reflect on a problem that you've solved in your life. This can be as simple as a budget worksheet or teaching a skill in the wealth domain, a fitness program in the health domain, or even a productivity system. 4 is sell what's already selling, but better. So research what's currently selling on the market and make it your own. 5 is experiment with a unique system. So test a plethora of others' methods like training programs or productivity planners. And then 6, map and build your product. Create an outline that solves a big problem and helps customers reach a desired outcome in their life. Remember that. Product Creation 101. You're helping spark transformation. You have a goal and you have where they are now, where they want to be, What's in between that? Map that out. That's your curriculum. That's your coaching program. That's whatever it may be. Map it out like you're outlining the table of contents of a book. And then 7, filter everything through your own perspective. Remove information that doesn't align with your goals and include information that helps people adopt your perspective. Mental monetization, link in the description, can help more with this. Next, people learn best from those at their stage or those a stage or two above it who can look down and create a map. Your map is your product. Other people can sell a similar product and talk about the same thing, but some people will never find them. You don't follow someone for what they teach. You follow them because of their personality and goals. I can search online for a web design course, but what if I don't have the initial interest in web design to begin with? What if I'm introduced to it from the person I follow? At that point, the only person I'm buying from is that specific person. You have to stop assuming that people just innately have the interest that you're talking about. Just because there's a billion web design courses or fitness programs or other things on the market doesn't mean that people are all interested in those things and that they're just going to go actively search them out. That's the point of attracting people to a brand and persuading them as to why your things are more important. It doesn't matter how saturated the market is when you create a market by exposing them to their next level of self-development through your product. Now, I'll end the video here, but in the next few videos, there are a few topics from this video itself that we need to go over, like intelligence or diving deeper into the stages of development or other things like that. So the next video is going to be something along the lines of like how to join the top 1% of intelligence. But in the meantime, if you want to continue watching a video of mine, I would recommend the value creation video. You can either search that. I would just search value creation Dan Co and watch that video because that will help you understand product creation a bit more. There's also, you have $100,000 trapped in your head. There's a lot of different videos there, the 1% business playlist. So check those all out. Download Kortex, my knowledge management app, to store all of your knowledge and use it to write. Other links in the description for all that fun stuff. Like, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye.